बिहारी
जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी
जय यशोदनन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना
जय यशोदनन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना
जय यमुनतीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जविहारी जय यमुनतीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जविहारी जय यमुनतीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जविहारी जय यमुनतीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जविहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनन्दना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय व्रजजनरञ्जना जय यमुनतीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जविहारी जय यमुनतीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जविहारी जय राधा माधव जय राधा माधव की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा मैया की जय श्री गौर निताय की अनंत गौरी वैष्णववृंद की निताय गौर प्रेमानंद। ओम नमो Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Praesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki.
Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki.
By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam
Classes of the Bhagavatam
and by rendering of service
and the reading of my
to the
service
pure devotee,
to the pure devotee.
all that is troublesome
All the instructions
to the heart
to the heart
is almost completely destroyed.
is almost completely
In loving service
and the loving
unto
service
the personality of Godhead,
unto the person of
who
God
is praised
praised
with transcendental songs,
dance
is established
is established
as an irrevocable fact.
as a daily gospel fact.
Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki.
Jai.
So we welcome all devotees today for the program. I don't know how to ask you all to squeeze because you look very squeezed already. But there are devotees standing behind. Maybe at the back there's a bit of space to move forward, Prabhus. Little bit of space. Front, I think you're there. The next thing you can is you can sit on me or you can sit on the table. That's okay. So we will read today from a beautiful verse in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 85, text 55 and 56. 10, 85, 55 and 56. The title of this chapter is known as Lord Krishna instructs Lord Krishna instructs Vasudeva. So let's chant. Pītvāmritam payastasya
Dīvāmritam payastasya
Gita sesham gadavritah
Gita sesham gadavritah
Narayananga samsprashya
Narayanam samstasya
Pratilabdhatma darshanah
Pratilabdhatma
Te namaskritya govindam
Te namaskritya govindam
Devakim pitaram balam
Devaki pitaram palam
Vishatam sarvabhutanam
Vishatam sarvabhutanam
Yayurdhama divaukasham
Yurdhama divaukasham
Idvamritam payastasya
Dīvāmritam payastasya
Gita shesham gadavritah
Gita sesham gadavritah
Narayananga samsparsha
Narayanam samsparsha
Pratilabdhatma darshanah
Pratilabdhatma
Te namaskritya govindam
Te namaskritya govindam
Devakim pitaram balam
Devaki pitaram balam
Vishatam sarvabhutanam
Nasiddham sarvabhutanam
Yayurdhama divaukasham
Yayurdhama divaukasham
Idvamritam payastasya
Dīvāmritam payastasya
Gita sesham gadavritah
Gita sesham gadavritah
Narayananga samsparsha
Narayanam samsparsha
Pratilabdhatma darshanah
Pratilabdhatma darshanah
Te ते नमस्कृत्य गोविन्दम्
ते नमस्कृत्य गोविन्दम्
देवकीं पितरं बलम्
देवकी पितरं बलम्
विशतां सर्वभूतानां
विशितां सर्वभूतानां
ययुर्धाम दिवौकसां
योद्धामो देवकिशाम्
Can we have one of the Prabhus to chant?
पीत्वामृतं पयस्तस्य
ईतां यशोपयस्तस्या
पीताशेषं गणावृतः
पीताशेषं गोदावृतः
नारायणान् संस्पर्श
नारायणं संस्पर्शा
प्रतिलब्धात्मदर्शनः
प्रतिलब्धात्मदर्शनः
ते नमस्कृत्य गोविन्दम्
देवकीं पितरं बलम् मिषतां सर्वभूतानां योद्धामो देवकिशाम्
Mataji,
गीतां यशोपयस्तस्या पीताशेषं गोदावृतः नारायणं संस्पर्शा प्रतिलब्धात्मदर्शनः ते नमस्कृत्य गोविन्दम् देवकीं पितरं बलम् विशतां सर्वभूतानां ययुर्धामो देवकिशाम्
Pitva, having drunk, Amritam,
अमृतं
nectarian,
nectarian,
Payaha,
Payaha,
milk,
milk,
Tasyaha,
तस्याः
her, Pita,
पीता
of what had been drunk,
शेषं
Shesham, the remnants, Gadabritaha, of Krishna,
कृष्ण
the wheel of the cloud, Narayana,
नारायण
of the Supreme Lord,
नारायण
Narayana, Krishna,
कृष्ण
Anga, of the body,
of the body,
Samsparsha,
संस्पर्श
by the touch,
by the touch,
Pratilabdha,
प्रतिलब्धा
regain,
regain,
Atma,
Atma,
of the original
of
self,
their organization
as demigods,
as demigods,
Darshana,
Darshana,
the perception,
Darshana,
They,
They,
Namaskritya,
Namaskritya,
bowing down,
bowing down,
Govindam,
Govindam,
to Lord Krishna,
Lord Krishna,
Devaki,
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 Pitaram,
Pitaram,
their father,
father,
Balam,
Balam,
and to Lord Balaram,
and to Lord Balaram,
Mishatam,
Mishitam,
as they looked on,
as they looked on,
Sarva,
Sarva,
all,
all,
Bhutana,
Bhutana,
the people,
people,
Yayuhu,
Yahu,
they went, Dharma,
Dharma,
to the abode,
abode,
Diva Okasham,
Devakasham,
of the demigods.
of the demigods.
Translation. This translation is by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Please repeat the translation. By drinking
By drinking
the nectarian milk,
nectarian milk,
the remnants of what Krishna himself
the remnants of what Krishna
had
said,
previously drunk,
had previously
the
done,
6 sons
the 6 sons,
touched the transcendental body of the Lord,
the transcendence of the body of
Narayana.
Narayana,
And this contact
and this content
awakened them
awakened
to
them
their original identities.
to the identities.
They bowed down to Govinda,
They brought up the Govinda,
Devaki,
Devaki,
their father,
their father,
and Balaram.
and Balaram,
And then,
as
everyone looked on,
as everyone looked on, they left
for the abode
for the abode
of the demigod.
of the demigods.
Please hear the purport. Lord Krishna remained as an infant with Devaki and Vasudev for only a very short time. First, the Lord appeared before them in His four-armed Vishnu form. And after hearing their prayers, He changed Himself into an apparently ordinary infant for their pleasure. But to save Krishna from suffering his brother's fate, Vasudev at once removed him from Kamsa's prison. Just before Vasudev took him away, Mother Devaki suckled Krishna once so that he would not feel thirsty during the long trip to Nanda Vraja. This we learn from the commentary of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana
Shalakaya Chakravartayena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manavishtam स्थापितं येन भूतले
स्वयं रूपमदामयं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजं साधुतं चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादांश्च सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्तुते तप्त काञ्चन गौराङ्गे राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नमो महावदन्याय
कृष्णप्रेमोदये कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य
नाम्ने गौरक्षे नमः वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 12th canto, 12th chapter, I think the verse is either 48 or 50. There's a very important shloka that gives us the understanding of why today we are starting the year by trying to remember the pastimes of Krishna. This pastime of Krishna, where Krishna is actually, he is actually bringing back, right, to Devaki Mata the 6 sons that she had lost in the time of Krishna Leela. Why it is happening and what we can learn from it is something that we want to do. It's okay, Guru. I'm just suggesting it. In 12.48 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami very nicely states, Sankirtyamano Bhagavan Anantaha Shrutanubhavo Vyasanam hi pumsam Pravishya Chittam Vidunoti Ashesham Yatha Tamo Arko Abram Ivati Vipraha. This beautiful shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam tells us very nicely exactly why we are actually chanting these beautiful pastimes of Krishna. Shukadeva Goswami tells to Parikshit Maharaj, and this is almost at the last 1 or 2 chapters of the 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj that when people properly glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so this is the reason why we are speaking about Krishna today. We are speaking about him because we should first learn to properly glorify Krishna. It is not just glorify him, but we must properly glorify. Properly glorify means we must glorify Krishna not with our own words, but we have to glorify Krishna through the words given to us by the Acharyas in Guru Parampara. There is no point for us to invent new shlokas in Bhagavatam. We should not add 13 canto to Bhagavatam. 12 cantos are enough. And whatever there are in the 12 cantos, we should study them and we should repeat them. That is how we properly glorify Krishna. So if you want to properly glorify Krishna, then what happens is this. If we just try to glorify him, but supposing we cannot glorify him, we have no capacity to glorify him, then Shukadeva Goswami says, just simply hear about his power. This is very important. Now when you glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, actually automatically you are hearing about his great power. Do you realize that? When you glorify Krishna, automatically you will hear Krishna. It's very important. When we are glorifying, it is not that we are glorifying so that others can hear them. We are glorifying so that we can hear Krishna. Now what are the children going to do? Are they going down? Okay, good. Go down. So we should properly glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or we should hear about his power. And when we hear about the power of Krishna to do something, then we will understand that we are not Krishna. Because whatever power that Krishna has, we never will possess. And by hearing about him, we will realize where we stand and where Krishna stands. This is very important. The whole point that Srila Prabhupada introduced us to Krishna is to understand and glorify his power, how great he is. Otherwise, if we don't glorify Krishna, the tendency in the material world is that we will glorify ourselves. We will always think how great we are. Somewhere along the lines when we perform devotional service, we start thinking how great we are. And that is why we should glorify Krishna. We must be very, very careful not to accept glorification for ourselves. If someone glorifies us, then immediately, as Srila Prabhupada instructed us, we should give that glorification to our spiritual masters. And if we are not initiated, we should give it immediately to Srila Prabhupada. Then we are safe. Otherwise, we are in trouble because we become very proud. So, Sankirtyamano Bhagavan Anantaha. When you glorify Krishna and you personally hear him, something happens. The Lord personally enters into our hearts. This is very important. It is not that he sends somebody. Srutanubhavo. He himself, Anubhava, by his own ability, he himself will enter our hearts. And when he enters our hearts, what does he do? He will cleanse away all trace of misfortune in us. What is the greatest misfortune for us, Prabhus and Matajis? The greatest misfortune is to forget Krishna. It's simple as that. Every time we forget Krishna, we are actually in difficulty. The reason why we're anxious, we're disturbed, is really because at that moment in time, we have forgotten Krishna. In any transaction, if we forget Krishna, we will become disturbed. You just try creating a friendship without Krishna in the center, it will become disturbing. You try creating some project without Krishna in the center, it will become disturbing. You try to get married without Krishna in the center, it will be a disaster. You try doing anything in this world without Krishna in the center, it becomes very difficult. So therefore, the greatest misfortune is not to remember Krishna. And Krishna personally enters in our heart when you glorify him, and he himself cleanses our heart of this misfortune. So Krishna is like the transcendental vacuum cleaner. He cleans, He doesn't send someone to clean our house. He himself comes to clean our house, personally. You may think, how can Krishna personally enter each one of our hearts? That is why he's Krishna. He can personally do it. We can't do it. We can only enter our own heart. We only know our own heart. We don't know somebody else's heart. But he can enter every heart. And just like the sun removes the darkness, just like the wind drives away the cloud, Krishna can drive away all our misfortune. That is why we are chanting his great fortune, his great glory. You will see in this shloka that actually we are in the middle of a very beautiful pastime between Devaki Mata, Vasudev, and Krishna and Balaram. In this chapter, right, initially in the chapter, what happens is Krishna meets Vasudev and Devaki, but no longer are they meeting in Vrindavan. This pastime actually happens in Dwarka. So even though Krishna was the cowherd boy in Vrindavan, after so many years he stayed in Dwarka. He stayed in Dwarka for 100 years, right? 100 years Krishna was in Dwarka. And when Krishna was in Dwarka, he ruled literally as the king. And who was the mayor of Dwarka? It was Balaramji actually, right? Balaramji was the mayor and Krishna was the king. And so Vasudeva and Devaki, they came to see Krishna after a long, long time. Because they only had the fortune of seeing Krishna and being with Krishna for a few hours. That's all. Actually, Nanda Maharaj, if you think about it, and Yashoda Mata, they had at least 10, 11 years with Krishna. Right? They were with Krishna in Gokul and Vrindavan. But Devaki Mata and Vasudev, they had no good fortune in that sense. Sometimes we may think, that why did Krishna put them into so much of difficulty? Because Krishna always put them in separation from him, but he always heightened their remembrance of him. This is very important for us because as devotees, when beginning the new year, we want our new year to go very well. Isn't it true? Everyone is wishing everyone, Prabhu, Mataji, I hope you have a good year. But only you and I know that it's very hard to have a good year. It's very difficult to have a good year. Every year is a challenging year, isn't it? And all of us, without exception, are suffering. Nobody here can say that they are not suffering. Either your body gives you suffering, your senses give you suffering, your mind gives you suffering, or if you say, I'm a yogi, I've conquered my mind and my senses, then one of your loved ones will give you difficulties. Right? And if the loved ones give you difficulties, sometimes it's worse than you yourself being disturbed. Because you care for them and they are in difficulty. And if they are also in good times, then maybe your job is giving you difficulty. Maybe you have that one boss who's like Hiranyakashipu, and it's very difficult, all the time, he's just there. It's very hard. Or if your job is fine, maybe the people in the workplace are not fine. Like that, there is no end to it. Something, somewhere, someone is going to give us trouble. So Vasudeva and Devaki, they accepted the difficulty of Krishna leaving them by remembering him. Remembrance of Krishna is the glorification of Krishna. This is very important point. If you want to glorify Krishna, the greatest glorification of Krishna is to remember him. And the greatest glorification of Krishna is to obey him. What is the point of glorifying the spiritual master and the Supreme Lord if you don't want to obey their instructions? If supposing you are the father and the son comes and really praises you, Father, you are very great, very great. And then after a while the father tells the son to do something, but he doesn't want to follow it. What is the point of that glorification? It has no value. Husband and wife, they glorify each other. We love you very much, I love you very much. But at the end of the day, they don't help each other because they don't listen to each other. What is the point? What is the point? So actually, glorification of Krishna means two things. Remembrance of him and obedience to his instructions. That is glorification. Sankirtya Mano. Sankirtya Mano is much deeper than what we think it is. Sometimes we want to do something, but we say we are glorifying someone. Srila Prabhupada asked his disciple for a glass of water. He was speaking to some people. So the disciple went in and came out with a glass of milk. When Srila Prabhupada said, I asked for water, the disciple said, this is better than water. Because this is milk, it is better. But Srila Prabhupada was not pleased. Because that was the disciple disobeying him. Trying to be too smart. I asked for water, Prabhupada said. That means you should only bring water. Whether I like water, you like water, we don't like water, the spiritual master wants water. Give him water. So we should follow what Krishna wants. It's so easy for us to invent what we think Krishna wants. But we should be very clear by following Shastras what Krishna wants. So that is glorification. So Devaki Mata and Vasudeva, they came all the way to see Krishna. And when Vasudeva and Devaki Mata saw them, initially their meeting was very, very powerful. Bhagavatam tells us, that they embraced their sons, Krishna and Balaram, and they felt so happy to see them. How long, they could not see them face to face, but in Dwarka they could see them. So Krishna, Vasudeva asked questions from Krishna about the signs of self-realization. And Krishna very kindly explained everything to Vasudeva. Now this meeting between Vasudeva and Devaki, Krishna and Balaram is a little different from other meetings. Because in the time of Vrindavan Dham, you will notice that Vasudeva and Devaki always would see Krishna during that period. When they heard about Krishna, even while they were in Mathura, they always remembered Krishna in the mood of loving parents. They never saw Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata also. But when Devaki Mata and Vasudeva came to see Krishna in Dwarka, when they saw Krishna, Krishna by his mercy lifted the veil of Yogamaya and allowed them to see Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It was Krishna's wish. And that is why Vasudeva turned to Krishna and asked him for instructions. The whole chapter is actually Lord Krishna instructing Vasudeva. You will find in Krishna book, in the time when Krishna was in Vrindavan and maybe in Mathura, he never instructed his father. The only time he instructed his father together with all the cowherd men was just before Govardhan Leela, when he was asking his father very politely, why you're offering everything to Indra? If not, all the time the Yogamaya potency was on Devaki and Vasudev as well as Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, because Krishna wanted to reciprocate with them in the mood of loving parent and child. But here he was in Dwarka, and therefore with awe and reverence he was Dwarkanath. And therefore when Vasudev came into Dwarka, Krishna lifted Yogamaya. And after giving very nice instructions to Vasudev, then Devaki Mata's turn came. Now Devaki Mata was sitting down by the side of her husband. And now I speak to you not through the pages of this Bhagavatam, but through the pages of Krishna book, which was written by Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada describes in the chapter that when she heard that Krishna and Balaram, were so kind to give instructions to Vasudev, she had a desire in her heart. She turned to Krishna and Balaram and said that, my dear Krishna and Balaram, once I had heard from your teacher. Who's Krishna's teacher? Sandipani Muni. She said, I have heard from your teacher that a long time ago, you had actually brought the teacher's dead son from the clutches of Yamaraj, right? So this pastime happened some time ago. Sandipani Muni became so pleased with Krishna and Balaram because they served him so well that he asked them that he blessed them with the greatest boon, that their name and fame will be known throughout the three worlds. That is why even till today, no one is more famous than Krishna and Balaram. You realize any corner of the world, everyone knows something about Krishna. Any corner of this universe, everyone knows something about Krishna and Balaram. This is because of Sandipani Muni's blessings. So this is another lesson for us today in the beginning of the year. If you really want to progress in devotional service, we need the blessings of devotees. We need the blessings of the Lord. Without their blessings, we cannot advance in devotional service. Every one of us may be thinking that we are just sitting down and devotional service is our plane to fly. It is your plane to fly. But before the plane takes off, you need all the blessings of your instructors. You need all the prayers of those who are devotees. And that is why we are in Sadhu Sangha. Always look to the devotee next to you and remember it is by their prayer that you can progress. And so Devaki Mata said, I heard how nicely you served your teacher. And now I have one wish, Krishna and Balaram. Your teacher Sandipani Muni lost his one son, but I have lost 6 sons. Do you remember? Before Krishna came, don't count son number 7, because daughter number 7 is Yogamaya and son number 7 is Balaram. Very, very